Parks and Recreation Commission. Today is Tuesday, March 16th, so just a little after 7 o'clock. And let's begin with a roll call. Vance, yeah, there's Vance is here.
Here.
Vance, Jan Wu,
Here.
Mike Serio,
Here.
Jen Trahan,
Here.
Ryan LaFrance,
Here.
Eric Overa,
Here.
Maya Lynch.
Here.
Okay, good. So we're all set. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes? Any comments, modifications, or additions?
I have a question. Am I on the skate park
Yes.
committee?
No,
Okay.
you're on the
No,
playground committee.
I know that you received that email, but no, you're on the playground.
I think they mixed
Perfect.
it up, Jan, just like on Things Tonight. mixed up.
I think in the minutes it has my name listed. I'm happy to join that committee too, or I think it needs to be noted that I'm not on it.
Okay, let's
It
make
should
that
be me.
modification then. Yeah, so I learned this lesson the hard way once. Never miss a meeting when they're making appointments.
Okay, I'm on it. Thank you.
I had the rude awakening with the Berkeley Rowing Club one year of not being able to go to the annual meeting. Received a call the next day in which they said, "We have good news and bad news." I said, "Well, let's start with the bad news first." They said, "You've been elected the president."
Oh.
And I said, "Okay, well, what is the good news?" "Well, it's good for us, but it's bad for you."
Hello.
So
Anyway.
we have to remove Wu and add Jen.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So with that change, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes.
All right.
I
Do we have a
second.
Good.
Ronald,
Thank you
second.
very much. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose?
Hi.
All right. So the minutes are approved. The time for public expression. Christina, any member of the public? Okay, no. All right, that brings us to the parks report, but we don't have, I don't.
No,
oh,
AJ
there's
is on. There he
Hey,
is.
AJ, how are you? So we're up
You're
to
muted,
you.
You're
AJ.
muted, AJ.
Yeah, AJ, we can't hear you. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Nice to
Okay,
see you
good.
tonight.
You too.
So could you give us a brief update on what's happening with the parks?
Yeah, absolutely. I know last time we talked, there was not much going on. Since then, we've done a lot of stuff. Baseball season started, which is great. So we had a lot of just general maintenance around Memorial Park. We spent like a week doing all the weed whacking, all the trimming, painted over a bunch of graffiti, and also cut all the skirts out on the edge of the baseball diamonds. I think Danielle has some pictures you guys can see of what that means. But basically we cut out the outside edge where the infield meets the outfield. So it's a nice, perfect, half circle instead of that weedy, junky look, and that really put the fields in good shape.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah, I think they look really nice. I was looking this morning and it's
Yeah.
definitely looking much better than it did this
Definitely.
winter. And I don't know if we're taking time to look at those pictures, or I can just keep going if you want.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
let's take a minute. We have them up. Christina has them up.
Okay. Good. So also at Memorial Park, sorry, I'm kind of going through my notes here, but we just talked to Sean and Danielle. I don't know if Sean talked to you, but we're going to order some new signs for the park. Oh, there it is.
Oh, good.
Some new signs, at the entry on Veterans Place, they
Yeah.
have that kind of junky, temporary log cabin sign, Memorial Park sign, and it's blue and green.
Yes.
And it doesn't really fit with the whole, the sign, the new signs, the green and black signs that we've been putting all over town. So what we're going to do is get one that says Memorial Park and another one that says Log Cabin in that green and black scheme that you're seeing now popping up everywhere with a deer on top too, to
Right.
kind of match
That's
with
great.
the town's design. So that should look super nice there. And also, we're going to put a sign up at the intersection of Alderney and San Francisco that says Memorial Park 1 block. So people stop driving down Alderney trying to get into the park.
Right. Good.
And then we're going to put a don't drive on grass sign down at the bottom there. So hopefully that works. We haven't had too much trouble, but we'll see. Anyways, I think it'll spruce things up there a little bit, you know?
Yeah. AJ, can you see the screen and the pictures? Okay.
Yeah, it looks good.
We
So
have
those
several.
guys did that. That was like a whole day's worth of work right there, but they cut it with this little sod cutter and then just roll it up like a carpet almost. It's a pretty cool tool.
Yeah, it looks terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great pictures.
Starting to look like AT&T Park.
Yeah, I know, huh? So that's Memorial. And then Creek Park, we're kind of doing the same thing. Obviously, there's no sports there, but I did an audit of it, just a big long walkthrough, and looked at a bunch of deferred maintenance and, maintenance needs. And I had Justin, my right-hand man, do the same without me. And then we traded notes and we came up with a big list of to-dos for Creek Park. And they started that today. A lot of it's just trimming and getting that back into shape for springtime and summertime. And then there's a lot of maintenance that we're going to defer to, because I had a meeting with Scott and they want to wait on some of the bigger hardscape type projects until they do the Building Bridge 2 project.
Right.
And kind of see what that's going to look like on that end of the park. And then we can match it on the other side. So you'll just see now kind of general maintenance going on, cleanup going on, but a lot of stuff is going to happen within the next, I don't know, couple of years now. They said Building Bridge 2 is a year out now, I guess.
Right.
So that's that with Creek Park. And let's see. Also, we're going to have Ted Van Mitty. He's a concrete contractor we use. Start fixing some of the walls at Robeson. The brickwork that's in the community garden part, those kind of brick walls that we've all through there are kind of falling over. And we've got him scheduled, or at least he's put up a bid to do just one piece of it. It's going to be kind of piece by piece, but that's in the works as well at Robeson.
That's terrific.
Yeah. And any questions you guys have?
So AJ, is any of the work that's being done at Robeson being coordinated or being done with the Friends of Robeson?
Always. It's not, we're actually, I don't know, that's a different thing. So we have been in talks with the community gardeners themselves, but not Friends of Robeson.
Okay.
We've had separate meetings, but the wall stuff that we're doing was brought up by the community gardeners and not Friends of Robeson.
I see.
So
Okay.
two separate things, but there is talks going on with Friends of Robeson, but I'm just not sure. There's no real game plan yet.
Okay. Yeah, I know that they're working on some improvements that they will be bringing to the Parks and Recreation Commission in a few months.
Okay.
So I'm sure they'll be having discussions with you about that.
Yes, I'm not in the loop yet on it, so I don't know, but I guess it's in the works. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, and as you know, with respect to the fields, the request for proposals has gone in. So we should be hearing about that, probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a long time coming for that irrigation system, I'm telling you.
Sure is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Well, I look forward to hearing more.
Yeah. Well, we should know more in about 6 weeks. We'll have a good idea on what the costs are.
Okay.
And then the idea, just so that you know, is to start that work in August of this year.
Yeah, crazy. Wow.
Yep. Have it
Going to be a
completed.
lot going on.
Yep. Have it completed hopefully by the end of November. Then we're going to fence all of the fields probably through March so that that new turf can take hold.
Yes, boy, it's gonna look great next year.
I think it will.
Yeah, absolutely.
So does anybody else have any questions for AJ about Memorial or Creek? Yeah, Jan.
What is the bridge project?
Oh, what I'm talking about, you know, the picnic area that they have right on the side of Creekside Pizza now?
Uh-huh.
So what I was referring to is part of that whole plan is to eventually take that out and widen the creek and dredge out the creek. So that area, as you know it now, is going to go away, but they do plan on putting something back there where people can
Okay.
sit down and picnic. But that is, you know, originally, I don't know if you know, all the way back, they tore all those buildings down that used to sit on that, and it was part of that project, but they stopped short of taking the rest of it out and doing the creek. So we decided, hey, let's put that, you know, the picnic tables and everything out there. So basically the bridge project is that we're waiting for the next phase where they actually take that out and start to rebuild.
Okay.
And once we see what they're going to do with, let's say, just like right now, there's concrete pathways all through the park and they're kind of funky and there's trip hazards all over, but we're waiting to see what they put back in that project on that end of the park, and then we can match it. So we don't want to go too big on maintenance in the hardscaping, you know, like the concrete and the wood, until we have sort of a theme or a design style.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Great, absolutely.
What happened there, Jan, is that effort has been delayed a year because of the bridge that crosses the creek in Ross. The idea was to have had that work was to have taken place this spring and summer, but it has been delayed for various reasons for a year. And so that has delayed the work that we can do here in San Anselmo in that area of Creek Park, essentially for 1 year as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, yeah, I think it'll be terrific when those improvements are done. Okay, AJ, anybody else with questions for AJ? Well, great job on the fields. Yeah, I went down and looked, they look terrific. So good
Well,
work.
thanks for telling me. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, AJ.
All right, take care.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that brings us now to item number 5, the discussion items, Memorial Park. Let me give everybody a quick update, and then for each, I'll talk about the fields, the playground, and the skate park. And then there have been various meetings that other people have been able to attend, and which has been terrific. And they can add to this as well. So on the fields, as I indicated to AJ, the RFP has gone out. So we're hopefully going to hear back in the next 6 weeks or thereabouts. So I would say by mid-May, probably by our May meeting, we'll have a good idea of what the bids look like. And assuming the bids are within the parameters of what we have budgeted, which is essentially $675,000, the work will begin in August and will be actually finished with the turf rolled out by the end of November. But the fields will be fenced through the end of March so that the new turf can get established properly. So that's it on the fields in terms of an update. Any questions about the new fields, that is? Okay.
Hey, Rod, I've got one question.
Yeah, Mike, sure.
I see a lot of people walking their dogs down on those fields.
I know.
What's the plan to communicate with those folks?
That is yet to be determined.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously a delicate issue.
Yeah.
And we are hoping to try to identify an area that's probably up near where the picnic tables are. We thought about whether we could do this in 2 phases, but economically it just doesn't make sense. So that issue is an issue to yet be addressed.
Yeah.
What we know that's a delicate issue for sure.
Will we be directing people over to Red Hill to the dog park?
for sure.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be doing that, but I'm anticipating there'll be some resistance to that.
Mhm.
So we just have to give further thought to how we're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is it-
I think that because we're fencing it off, it's just everyone, every group, interest group is going to have to accept the fact that it's out of use. And I think there will be a resistance to them going to Red Hill
Yeah.
Dog Park, because there's dog park people and there's not dog park people, but there's Lower Robeson is also very popular for off-leash dogs.
Yes.
And the town has not, we don't enforce, even though it's against the ordinance to do that. The town is very dog friendly.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. So this also gets to the size of the fence that's going around.
Mhm.
And right now, it's anticipated that it will go around the outer perimeter of all of the fields that are being replaced,
Mhm.
and that it will be high enough that you can't go over it, step over it, if you will. So it'll be a serious fence, making clear that people are not to go into that area.
Yeah.
Because the only way to really set it, I mean, we had long discussions with Peter Arnold on this issue, the landscape architect, and he said the key to this is you've got to fence it off during the period where you have some sunlight after you've had the moisture,
Mhm.
that is through the winter rains, to really establish those roots
Mhm.
so that the field will take properly.
Right. So is there, following the turf installation, are we going to go back to it's open to the dog and dog owner community?
That's to be addressed as well.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, I remember when we were doing the master plan, the dog constituency is a very vocal group.
Yeah.
And it's understandable. I mean, it's very convenient to have the park open to the dogs. The problem is they really can tear up that field.
Yeah.
And so it's something that between now and March of next year, we have to sort it out and decide how to address it.
Yeah.
And whether we're going to strictly enforce the town regulations with respect to dog use of the park.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dogs do, and my dog's guilty of this too, guys. I mean, I've walked my dog down there before and she's been digging holes and I've had to stop her.
Yeah.
But that's what causes the safety issues.
Exactly. And the degradation of the turf.
Yeah.
If I could say a word
Van,
here.
sure.
Matt Brown, one of our former council members, used to describe the dog issue as the third rail of San Anselmo politics.
I believe it too.
The electrified rail they have at the subway.
Yeah.
Don't touch that.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely true. At one of the first meetings on the master plan, the Memorial Park master plan, I think over half the participants, and I bet we had 40 plus people at that original meeting, were people that had their dogs out on the park, and they were very concerned about what was going to be done to the park. So, Mike, you've raised an important issue, and it's one we have to confront and deal with.
I think that if I can make a few more
Sure,
comments
sure.
around, prior to my arrival almost 4 years ago on April 17th, Dave went through the process of writing the ordinance for dogs, and he said it was super difficult, much like Vance just mentioned. During COVID, Corte Madera asked us to join them in a joint ordinance, but we didn't, in the time of COVID, people had such limited activity, we didn't want to act on make any changes to people's routines that were available to them. One of our biggest obstacles is that regardless of whether we have an ordinance or not, the police department just really would have to be the ones who enforce it. And it's not, historically, that's not a top priority. So it's a pretty difficult topic. And I think Vance is very right in saying that this will be a huge community issue if we deny dogs on that park.
Yeah.
I wish people would just pick up after the dogs. That would be, because the kids are out there and that's a huge problem. Those are my comments.
So this is obviously an issue that we have to give considerable thought to between now and probably when the work begins, because when the work begins, it's going to be fenced at that time. So by then we need to have answers to this issue. Okay, anything further on the fields? All right, well, that brings us then to the playground. So as we discussed at the last commission meeting, the Memorial Park Playground Community Advisory Committee has been formed. The two town council members are Steve Bordeaux and Eileen Burke. And that's from the council. From the Parks and Rec Commission, of course, we have Jan and Mike and me. And then for the staff that's going to be working with that group, it's Danielle, Dave Donnery, and Sean Condry, who's the Director of Public Works. And then there will be 7 public members that will be appointed by the people I just identified. And that process will begin over the next several weeks. So the work on the playground is going to take place in 2 phases. The first phase involves the immediate repairs to the existing structures. So it has been inspected by an inspector named David Spease, S-P-E-A-S-E, who works with the playground expert that's been retained by the city. And they have identified areas of those structures that need to be fixed now for health and safety reasons. So that will be the first phase. The second phase will be to look at really the empty spaces, that is the spaces where we have the swing sets, and maybe reconfigure those with an idea of putting additional elements in there, some different improvements. The fundraising will be essentially, the town is going to pay for these immediate repairs that need to be done. And then there will need to be fundraising for any additional improvements to the playground. Now, the repairs gets a little more complicated at this point. The idea at present is to try to accomplish these repairs, and the playground expert feels that this could be done through a volunteer effort in order to save money. And the idea is to do 5 consecutive work parties set on Saturdays beginning April 17th. And the way it would be structured is on the Tuesday before that Saturday, the playground expert would be meeting with Sean Condry or Scott Schneider from Public Works and would be letting the town know, in effect, what area of the playground will be worked on that Saturday with a checklist of what elements are going to be addressed, what supplies will be required, and the number of people necessary to accomplish that work. And then the work party will take place that Saturday. There'll be 5 consecutive weeks of that beginning April 17th. This is obviously a considerable effort because we need to identify some contractors or people who are skilled with tools, understand basic elements of carpentry in order to do this work. So we need sort of a skilled part of the volunteer group as well as the, let's call it, non-skilled, if you will, who will be doing painting, sanding, things of that sort. So this is a big undertaking. So I have a thought with respect to how we could do it as Parks and Recreation Commission, help with this effort. If each of us could identify 2 contractors or people with really woodworking skills who are comfortable with power tools. If each of us could identify 2 people with those skills and an additional 4 to 6 volunteers who could participate, that would be very, very helpful. And my thought to accomplish this would be that we would do a Zoom call among this group that's right here on the screen, among our commissioners. That would take about 30 minutes. I was thinking do it 2 weeks from today. That would be March 30th at 7. And if each of us could indicate the 2 contractors they have in mind, and if they could call them and ask if they'd be willing to participate, I'm thinking maybe 9 to 1 on Saturday. And if they could work beyond that, that would be terrific. But ask them which of those Saturdays from April 17 through mid-May they could commit to. That would be terrific. And then if each of us could identify 4 to 6 additional volunteers, that would include ourselves, of course, or members of your family or your friends, your neighbors, I think we can get this accomplished. And then we're also going to be reaching out to other people as well. But I think just within our group here, we can identify a number of people that could help with that effort. And would that work for everybody? We would do a 7 o'clock call on March the 30th, just to touch base with each other to see who we have.
Could we do that any earlier in the day, Rod?
We could, if that worked for people. What would you like to do? Say 5 in the afternoon? Just try and do it after work hours for people. What's that?
And whatever works for people, but you know, five would be easier.
How would that work for people on March the 30th in 2 weeks? Let me look at my own calendar that day.
So it would be a Tuesday.
That would be a Tuesday at 5.
We're doing the Bunny Express that week.
Oh.
We're taking the bunny around town. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't think I'll be able to make a 5 o'clock. I don't know if you guys could just do the meeting without me or push it back. I don't know what you
No,
want.
Then maybe 7's better.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
6, whatever, but I don't think I'll be off that truck until exactly at 5. So
Okay. Let's, does that work? Does that not work for anybody? We would do March the 30th at 7 o'clock and try to hold it to 30 minutes. Ryan, did you not?
Yep, I'm good.
Oh, good. Okay. Everybody else good with that?
Yeah,
Sure,
Okay,
I could do 7.
perfect. Good. That's what we'll do then. We'll calendar it then. And this won't necessarily be a Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. It'll be more of an informal meeting, so it doesn't have to, we won't have Brown Act issues with it. This will be more of a staffing issue. Oh, yeah, Jan.
So for that meeting, we want to have 2 contractors in mind, and then do you want the 4 to 6 volunteers?
Yes.
Do you need a list of names, or should we just
Yes.
talk to people?
No, talk to people and have a list of names if you can.
Okay, perfect.
What we'll probably do is have a grid set up for each of the Saturdays so that we could drop the contractors in and the volunteers.
Okay,
You know, we'll have it organized so that as of that meeting, the grid will be set up and we can drop the names right into it.
okay, sounds good.
If we could get names and email addresses and say a cell phone number for each person,
Okay,
we could stay in touch, and this way we'll really get this organized and get it done.
We would have to notice it as a public meeting though, according to the Brown Act, because it's
Okay.
it's the majority of the commission,
Okay, yeah.
which is fine. That's not a problem at all.
Okay, let's do that. That's That's fine. You know that
Okay.
area better than I do. So let me just check back then with Jan or Mike, who also were at the last meeting. Anything further on that, Mike or Jan, on the playground?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that you and I spoke over the weekend, Rod. I think I've got a concern about us being well enough prepared to make sure that we keep everybody busy during the time that they're volunteering. We don't want people standing around. It just means that we're going to have to be super organized with it.
Yep.
I think run it like a project. And I think that there's probably some, like I'm thinking as you're talking about, as we pull together volunteers, we probably ought to have somebody who's focused on nothing but pulling together the volunteers and coordinating all of that and communicating with them, et cetera. What if it rains? Are we going to reschedule them? If so, when? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
In addition to, actually planning out the work.
Right.
Those are kind of the big ones that stand out to me. But the one thing that wasn't super clear for me was, so we've got 7 that we need to add to the committee from the community. When do we want to have those people in place?
So for Jan and you, Mike, there's going to be a meeting on March the 25th at 4:30 of that Community Advisory Council, the Playground Advisory Council. The
Okay.
idea is to have candidates for those positions in
That-
mind for that meeting.
Got it. Okay.
So-
I sent something to Dave for the newsletter, but I didn't hear anything back.
Oh, did you send it to him?
I did.
I'll follow up with Dave then on that.
It might not have been what maybe I didn't, maybe I was off base on what I said, and that's fine, but I didn't hear anything back from it at all. So I just want to make sure he knows that I did send it.
Okay.
And then I can also communicate to anyone that I could be the volunteer coordinator, or I would be happy to step up if that's a role people need help with.
This is a critical role. And I have some ideas, and I know Mike has some ideas too, on how to carry this out.
Okay.
To get this work done in these 5 weekends is going to require tremendous organization and a clear plan of what needs to be accomplished that Saturday,
Right.
and to make sure we have the supplies and the people with the requisite skills to do it.
And
if you
sorry,
were,
Rod.
if you were willing to sort of kind of coordinate that aspect, that would be fabulous.
I'm willing to give it my best shot.
That's perfect. You know
Okay.
what we'll do, Jan, is I'll give the group a heads up prior to that meeting of next Thursday, okay?
Okay.
That you'd be willing to step into that role. And then Mike and I are certainly willing to help you as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Great.
One of the areas that we really, in addition to the contractors, but a valuable piece of the volunteer group would be, they want to feed people and organize, coffee. So people that are willing to reach out to local businesses and just to keep in mind. So when we meet on the 30th, who are willing to reach out, pick up food, and coordinate that with Safeway or whatever other restaurants that are willing to, provide that other social piece
Sure.
while people are working.
Sounds
So,
good.
Danielle, I know, and we can get into this more in detail next Thursday, but are there restrictions, are there COVID restrictions with respect to us providing food to volunteers?
There are, and I'm really not clear. I think that as long as everything's individually wrapped, which people are doing anyway. So
Yeah.
Safeway donates, 50 sandwiches, which is great. Then they just ask them to individually wrap them. So then we hand out to people a wrapped sandwich and a bag of chips versus a platter of sandwiches,
Okay. All right. Terrific. So then, just a reminder, we'll be back on that on March 30th at 7. We're just looking for the 2 contractors from each person 4 to 6 volunteers in addition. And we'll try to keep that meeting to 30 minutes or less. So I appreciate everybody being available that day. Any further questions about the playground? And we can bring people further up to date at that meeting, because the Community Advisory Committee will have met the preceding Thursday. So we'll give you an update from that too. Okay, that takes us to the skate park. And Jen and Maya and Eric, they were at the meeting that we had on March the 1st. 2 phases for the skate park. And you can see a lot's happening. The first phase is to make repairs to the existing structures. And that work is going to begin on April the 5th. That's a Saturday. And that work is currently being coordinated between Will Hutchinson, who is the owner of Proof Lab. And if you've ever been to his place down in Mill Valley, it's great. He's got a, he's got a half pipe indoors, and he really knows the skate park business inside and out. And he has somebody he knows who built skate parks. They're currently working over in Fairfax on their temporary park. They are now working with Sean Condry with respect to repairs on our skate park, which begin April the 5th. We're hoping to do it in 2 to 3 weekends, so there will be some overlap with the playground. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is we're also working on the design of a concrete skate park, a permanent skate park. And I've been in touch with Grindline, who's done parks really all over the West. They're working on a design for us. Lisa's been in touch with 2 other organizations that do skate parks. So we should have some more news on that, say in a month or thereabouts. Of course, for the immediate repairs, we have the money for that. There's $23,000 in the skate fund. We have put a limit of $20,000 on the repairs that will be done. Those repairs probably will carry us roughly 5 years, would be the useful life. It will essentially look like a new skate park there, because the understory of each of those structures is going to be replaced. We're hoping to save some of the skate light, which is the surface, but we're also having to, skate light is very expensive. Some of that will actually have to be replaced. So you have the 2 phases, the current repairs, then the design and doing cost estimates on a concrete skate park. And we'll see what those numbers look like. The numbers, I think, are going to come in around $50 a square foot. So you can see there's a substantial amount of money. If you do, our current park is a little over 5,000 square feet. So at that number, it's $250,000. We're hoping to do one that's slightly larger. Then we'll have to fundraise, which would start as soon as we've worked out the design. And we've already set up the 501c3. It's in place. All the filings are current, and we have state and federal exemptions for what we call Friends of Memorial Park. So anything, Jen, that you have, or Maya or Eric, on the skate park?
Sure, I'll just let people know that there's a small event this Thursday at 4 o'clock for mostly the kids, but users of the park to come and give any input they want on the design, the upcoming design. So let the teenagers in your life know.
Yeah.
It's Thursday at 4 o'clock at the skate park.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it doesn't rain on Thursday, because Will Hutchinson's going to be there. He's going to have his design, and he wants input from the kids that use the park. Tell us what you think. So and Maya and Eric, tell your friends to go that day, okay? And if you guys could go, that would be terrific too. Because this is a time to make comments on what's being proposed for the repairs. This is just the repair aspect of all this.
All right, that sounds good. Is it cool if I post it on my social media stories? Would that be a good idea?
You mean it's through Drake?
No, like on my, like if I just like post it on my social media to let
Oh,
anyone
on your
know.
social media. That would be fine.
Okay.
No, I actually,
Nope.
Rod, we can't do this as an event. It was really meant to be the users that use it on that,
Oh,
you know,
okay,
on a regular basis,
I see.
not opening it up as calling people down.
Okay.
So I don't think that's, unfortunately, I'm sorry, that's not a good idea right
So,
now.
Maya, it sounds like, yeah, and I suppose too with the pandemic, in the social distancing issues.
Yeah.
But what you can certainly do are your friends that you know that you talk with that are using the skate park. We'd love to have them there on Thursday.
All right.
Okay.
Or you could maybe post something asking for feedback, and you don't have to announce the actual day and time, but just asking for feedback, and we can collect all that information.
All right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So Maya and Eric, what have your friends' reactions been to what we're doing at the skate park, both the repairs and a possible concrete park? What do they think? Eric?
Well, I can speak for myself. I mean, I've talked to some people. I haven't talked to too many people about it yet, but yeah, every reaction I've heard is positive. I think it's gonna be I think everyone's looking forward to some nice repairs and possibly, or not possibly, but eventually the permanent park.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Maya?
Yeah, it's been really positive as I've been talking about. The biggest positive reaction that I've noticed comes from the concrete part of it.
Yeah.
Because a huge, like when I was talking to them and like getting their feedback, a huge complaint that I received was the ground mostly, because they said that like if you fell on it, then it could like really hurt you. So they said that they were really excited about that aspect, like possibly getting smoother ground to skate on.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it was actually I was up outside of Guerneville this past weekend, and in that little town of Rio Vista, they have a skate park. And on Sunday, even though it was a mild rain, there must have been 50 kids out there using it. I mean, it looked terrific. And I think this skate park, both the one we have, but the concrete park, would be a tremendous addition to the park and the community.
Hey, Rod, quick question.
Yeah,
The park master plan had that moving to a different area, the skate park. Is it going to remain in the same area once we go concrete, or is it going to be moved?
It would be moved. We need a little more space.
Mhm.
And this is an interesting issue that you've raised, because I actually spoke with Peter Arnold about this exact issue today.
Mm.
I've talked with him about it before. It's somewhat complicated. It's complicated because the master plan, when we worked on the south end of the park where the tennis courts are and the basketball court and the skate park, all of that was being rearranged, if you will. So where the skate park is, and at our next meeting, what I'll do is I'll share the master plan and we can talk about it in greater detail. To build the skate park where it is on the master plan would require the removal of 2 tennis courts. So it gets a little bit more complicated unless we reorient the skate park at the Sunny Hills end and just take out a single tennis court, which would be possible, but would require town council approval. So the idea would, in theory, the best way to do it would be consistent with the master plan, because that master plan has been approved by the town council. But it also involves considerable expense, because it's not just building the skate park. It would also involve the drop-off area as well as relocating the basketball court. So this is, as we go forward, this is an issue that has to obviously be addressed. But next week, next month when we do it, we'll actually have, we'll have the master plan available so everybody can see it and see what the issue is. And we'll also have a better idea in terms of cost because we've reached out to 3 skate park builders to get an idea of what the cost would be on a per square foot basis. So any other questions about the skate park? Okay. But these are all exciting things that are going on. All right. That brings us to the financial report, Danielle.
Okay, as of the end of February, 66% of the year has passed, and we are holding at a good pattern of 44% of our projected revenues and 48% of our projected expenditures. So we're at a negative 9%, a deficit of $127,677, which is $5,000 more than last month, which is great when you have limited revenue coming in and you're paying a full-time staff and you're paying all your bills. So holding strong, hoping to end the year, without too much more of a deficit. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So unless any, I have a couple.
Sure.
If we, under childcare,
Mhm.
I realize this is one of the areas where we have the biggest loss. Is there any expectation of change in that for the rest of the year, the rest of the fiscal year?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we have to operate in pods of 14.
Right.
And I don't foresee, somebody asked me the other day, what are you planning on doing for summer when we return to normal? I don't foresee the state coming forward and saying, recreation isn't top on their list. Things are opening up. We got some regulations for how to host events. They're really geared towards sporting events, but you can also use them, and we've been very good at interpreting them to use and have recreation programming. So we'll continue to do so, but the thing that would be needed to be lifted is the 14-person cohort, because we were serving in one summer camp room in the Vista room, like 40, 50 kids. Now we're limited to 14 kids. So that's a huge difference.
I see. And you don't anticipate an easing of that by mid-June?
Anything's possible, but
Yeah.
what has to happen is the state has to turn its attention to
I see.
recreation and recreation pods.
Yeah.
Sports has gotten a lot more attention because they're doing it nationally, and then you have high schools and whatnot. So we've gotten more traction with that, with sporting.
I see. So if we move from red to orange, which it looks like we might, knock on wood, would that change the situation?
Nothing, it's interesting. It does change what sports, and we can play competitively. And I don't have that in front of me. I apologize. But I think basketball and soccer are in the orange tier. So you go from what we've been offering, which is still in a 14-person cohort, but more of a glorified PE class, to now what they're doing in baseball and softball, which is competitive play. But it still limits the number of kids you can serve.
I see. Okay. Yeah, it'll be a wonderful day when we're out from under these restrictions.
Like in Parkside, we used to have 50 kids enrolled, and they would have different days, and we would take different enrollments. Now we have 14 kids with limited hours, 2 groups of 14. So it limits.
Okay.
I don't expect our operations to return to normal until 2022. Because even if they lift the cohort sizes, we'll be able to do in-house programs, but but we have to rebuild the relationships with our teachers, our contract teachers. A lot of them have gone out of business, so we have to find new ones. We have to rebuild our relationship with part-time staff to bring back in to work with the kids. So there's a lot of work ahead of us, and I guess it depends who you ask on how quickly those will open up.
Yeah. Well, I think unfortunately, nobody really knows.
Right.
This virus is extremely unpredictable.
I think the catch is that kids aren't vaccinated, right? So I think they're going to be more cautious with children, even though the instructors are. So that would be my guess, but
Well, I
I
think
can
a
still
lot
hope.
has to do with the experience that the schools have when they reopen.
It's true. But that means fall.
It does.
So, I mean, there's not enough time to catch traction for the summer, so we'll see.
Any other questions for Danielle on the financial report? Okay. All right, let's see. Oh, that brings us to election of chair and vice chair. So I want to run an idea by the group. I checked, I checked the report when the Parks and Rec Commission was set up and the other commissions and committees, and there are no rules or bylaws with respect to how often elections have to take place or even what the positions are. So I think we have flexibility in how we do things in terms of the leadership of the commission. And an idea that I wanted to run by the group is whether we might do something that's similar to the town council, which is they rotate the position of mayor and vice mayor. And we could do the same on the Parks and Rec Commission. In other words, we could elect a chair and a vice chair to, in effect, what are one-year terms. And at the end of the first year, the chair would step down and the vice chair would take the chair's position, and we would elect a new vice chair. And an advantage of that, it seems, is it keeps the leadership dynamic. It keeps it open to new leadership, new people. But I just wanted to run that by you because, as you heard when Jonathan spoke from the Open Space Committee, I think he's been the chair for, I don't know how many years. I think it's at least 10 plus years. So there's some advantages, but there's some disadvantages to that.
Actually, it's more like 30 years.
It is. I think it is something in that neighborhood. It's a staggering number. Maybe he's been the only chair.
He was the guy who started the thing.
He is. So maybe he's been the only chair. But I wanted to run that idea by the group and just see what you think. And we don't even have to decide that tonight. We could elect our chair and our vice chair tonight, and we could decide on that rotation at a future meeting. Or we could defer even the election until we've talked about it. Any thoughts on that? Because I think we can pretty much do as we please. I don't think there are any restrictions. So maybe would you like to just do, we could just do the election now, and then we could have the discussion at a future meeting if you'd like. Mike, I see. Oh, it's back. I saw it highlighted around you for a second, so I wasn't sure if you.
I mean, a thought to share, Ron. I wouldn't be against necessarily doing like an annual election. To have it just roll to the next and the next and the next. And I think that there's probably clearly the level of commitment that you have had to make to the commission as chair is, I mean, there's some heavy lifting there. And, I mean, I'm not sure everyone would necessarily be willing to do that if we did it on a rotational basis. I could be wrong, but there may be some in the group that maybe wouldn't want to do chair or vice chair, but would still want to participate. just given the time constraints, work, parenting, et cetera. So just a thought to share.
Yeah.
I don't know how the rest of the group feels about that.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that we could do too is if we wanted to go to that rotating basis is, and I realize times like now are suddenly have become actually quite intense as to what our involvement is and the different activities and projects that we're working on. And so the commission could also decide, we'd like to keep that leadership in place for an additional year. So there's flexibility. But the idea, I think, of bringing new people into leadership, I like the idea. And we retain the flexibility because we're not constrained by certain parameters or bylaws. We can do what we think is best for the commission and how our commission can best look out for the community. So would people like to give that a try?
I have a question. Rod, how long have you been the chair of this commission?
I think for a couple of years. I'm not even sure when we did the election, to be honest. It occurred to me back in January, I said, gee, we haven't done an election in a while. We should do one. So I think it's been about 2 years.
I do appreciate your leadership, and to Mike's point, I would be supportive of rotating positions as long as we have, as members, we have the option to opt out, right? If we don't want to be.
Oh yes, definitely.
In a leadership role. Thanks.
Yes, exactly. And what we would do is we would have the chair and the vice chair. The chair would step aside, vice chair takes over, but if the vice chair, for whatever reason, doesn't want to step into that role, that would be fine. And we would then we would decide the chair should stay, or we'd like to elect a new chair. So there'd be complete flexibility. Yes. Yeah, we don't want to put anybody in an awkward position. So why don't we do this? If people are, and you can say no if that's what you wish. Does somebody want to make a motion that we do this on this rotating basis? That is, we'll elect a chair, a vice chair to 1-year terms with the chair stepping out, the vice chair taking the chair's place, and we elect a new chair at the end of the year. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second? Yes, Ryan's.
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay. So does any further discussion on the motion? All right. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. So the motion passes. And with that, why don't I open the floor to nominations for chair of the Parks and Rec Commission?
Mike.
Rod.
I thought we were, okay, yeah, I'm good with Rod. I thought this was kind of Rod's subtle attempt at trying to get out of it.
No, you know what? I don't want to twist anybody's arm. Believe me, I would be willing to do it for another year to see these.
So good at it.
Well,
such good hands.
I really enjoy all of you, and I enjoy what we're doing, and I think these projects are really good. So if you wish, I would be willing to stay on for another year and then step down.
I would nominate and second that.
Yeah.
Can I just ask the question? Is anybody else interested in the role? Okay, good to know.
Not right now.
Not right now. Yeah, not for me.
Every single one of us took a step backward.
These are very wise people. All right. So all in favor of me staying on for an additional year, say aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
thank you.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm glad to do it. So now that opens the vice chair position. And I would like to nominate Mike Serio. And the reason I would like to do that is the tireless work he invested in connection with Measure M,
Oh, yeah.
which a lot of that was behind the scenes. A lot of members of this committee, Vance and Ryan, also did a tremendous job. But Mike is one of the two main coordinators, really put his shoulder to the wheel in ways that probably many of us don't appreciate. And I know he's really committed to the community, committed to kids, committed to the park. And so I nominate Mike Serio as vice chair.
I would second that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other nominations for the position? All right, then we'll call the question. All in favor of Mike Serio as vice chair, say aye.
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 Opposed? No. All right, it's approved. Mike, you're the vice chair.
Thanks, Mike.
Way to go, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. So that brings us to staff updates. Danielle, anything further?
Yeah, I have a lot to share.
Okay.
Lots of good things happening. So we put out a virtual summer guide that was done in-house to save money. First time we've ever done it in-house. Maddie and Kevin took the lead on it, and all the staff pitched in, obviously, to get the information together. Check it out online. It's a great one. Our camps have sold out almost over the weekend. We have a lot of wait lists. And, you know, we're definitely taking wait lists, because if things do change, we will open it up to 50 kids in a heartbeat. So that's really great. Check out what we're offering. Juan's Gym is back open, but if you flip through that online, you can kind of see everything we're doing. Sewing classes, great fun things. This weekend is opening day at the Fields, and the first games will be played. And as a reminder, we did take over Saba this year. So, or not take over, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but we merged with Saba. So now our recreation department offers everything from the Bambinos up to majors, and we have a full slate. We have, I believe they've told me 25 teams. And so that is really hopping on the weekends. Red Hill Shopping Center is hopping on the weekends. So really good things happening. And then other programs we have, we're just wrapping up letters from leprechauns. The kids wrote in, I read a bunch today. I was having a hard day, and Maddie brought me a big stack of leprechaun letters and said, read these, cheer up. And sure enough, those kids are really special out there. And we're doing tomorrow, we're starting a program called Wish Upon a Star with Cedars, Age Friendly, and the Recreation Department. And it is the commemoration of the annual shutdown last year. And it's to bring hope into our community. There'll be stars for people to write their hopes and hang on the trees in Imagination Park. And it's being covered by a couple of news outlets. So it's good things. And then we have the Bunny Express, and Christina is going to be the bunny, as she mentioned, coming up for the Easter holiday. So lots of fun things, reaching out to community, feel good things, and lots of success with the programming we are offering, just selling out like hotcakes. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, it's so impressive to me that when we open the programs, they fill, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what this tells me, this community wants the programs that we're doing. And I know you're doing everything you can to open as much as possible. And I think we just have to keep pressing on with that effort. It's impressive.
They don't only want the programs, they want our programs. I mean,
They
people
want-
are like,
Yeah.
I'm signed up for another program, but when are you opening yours? Because I want to get into yours. And it's sad that we can't serve all the kids we know and have become our family. So
Yeah.
we're doing everything we can.
Well, I think we run the best recreation department in the county. Not a doubt. It's true.
We have a great team.
No, it's a great team. You've done a hell of a job. And we sell out our programs every year, and they're done at a very reasonable cost as well. It's impressive. So I have a question that I think I know the answer, but I need to ask it. Is there any chance we're going to be able to do Country Fair Day?
I don't think so, because the problem is I keep telling, Christina will want to weigh in on this, but Christina and Maddie keep going, there's no way, Danielle. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys, if they open up for events on like July 31st, Dave's going to be like, figure it out. The problem is you really have to start all that application and process in June.
Yeah.
And right now the event regulations, which I think will go through summer, are 25%. You have to have reservations. So I think we'll be able to do like picnics on the plaza if we draw circles. I think we'll be able to do like, music on the avenue by Creekside, where the tables are kind of the reserved spots.
Right.
I think there's some things we can work in, but Country Fair Day, a parade, people roaming so close together. We'll probably have herd immunity, but I don't know what will happen, and we won't have enough time to kind of switch gears. But what I can say is we will offer something in the form of Country Fair Day. We will get together with Cedars. We will celebrate Country Fair Day. We will not let it be forgotten. So there'll be some type of contest. There'll be, maybe very limited vendors, maybe just town vendors. And the restaurants open, there'll be something out there, but nothing like it has been in past years.
Hey, Danielle, is there any possibility that you could, that we could get together and maybe plan for it so that, everything's in place if they do lift the restriction and we can do it? Or would it maybe sort of a second thought to share, what if we like charged admission and limited attendance?
You'd have to fence it, and it would be cost prohibitive to fence. I've toyed with the idea of taking applications. Christina, do you want to make any comments? Because I know Christina's been a huge part of planning it.
I will say we do have everything lined up. Like if restrictions do open, like all the applications are all updated, everything's ready to go. The problem is I think that a lot of the vendors that we've used in the past, like the Astro, like some of the people that we've used along the avenue, I think some of them have gone out of business, and I don't know how easy it will be to get those types of things back. And people have actually already been emailing me about it. Are we going to do it this year? Are we going to do it this year? So I think if we do, for whatever reason in the last minute, get the go ahead, like people will want to participate and be involved, but it is a very lengthy process, and we usually get really like into it in April, and I don't know how we'd be able to pull off the full event in such a short time, but I'm sure we can make it work.
We'll do something, but throughout the county, when I meet with the county, everybody, like all the other, we're a pretty aggressive recreation department and have gone out there and really done some things. Everyone's canceled like their picnic rentals for the entire summer, the picnic table rentals, like they've canceled. I mean, everyone's canceled through summer. And so I think I wouldn't want to be in the Marine IJ as the one town or city who came out and there was a breakout or something of that sort.
So let's say, for example, if Marin drops into orange status in the next couple of weeks and even made it to the next stage down, say by the end of April or early May, and a gathering of the magnitude of Country Fair Day was permissible, would we still have time to do the necessary planning?
It's not permissible all the way up until what's about in yellow. They put out the grid for events,
right,
which is what I was sharing with you guys. that limits, like capacity at 15%, 20%. In the yellow, you're at 25%, but you have to take reservations.
Oh.
So we would have to be out, there would have to be like no tier system left, like we're done with COVID. The state there's no more guidelines. We're moving on. Like
I
we'd have to be, the tier system would have to be done and finished.
see. Well, that's highly unlikely to have that by June.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, but the alternative is we'll have some form of celebration. Would it be that same weekend or not?
It would be that same weekend, and we would do definitely virtual stuff. Like, we've figured out the Bunny Express, Santa Claus Express, this Wish Upon a Star. We'll do something.
Okay. Okay. All right. Is there anything further? Any questions for Danielle on the updates? Any requests that people would like to have on the next meeting agenda? Okay.
I don't have a request, but I just wanted to compliment Danielle and her team. I am officially a baseball mom now, and my husband is coaching. My daughter is 6 and she's out there giving it her best shot. And it's so fun to be in the park and experiencing the energy. So thank you for everything, and please pass it on to your staff. It's really fun.
I definitely will. Thank you.
We all second that, Danielle.
Yeah, second, third, fourth.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here this evening. Have a pleasant evening, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks on March the 30th at 7 for a brief meeting on contractors and volunteers. Have a nice night, everyone. The meeting's adjourned.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.